Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the Olares project and my F1 experiment gone a little bit off-road as far as the single model, 3 agents, let's get on the racetrack or notional racetrack. Anyway, so I mentioned in the last episode that Olares is more than just the Olares One appliance. And this right here, which is you can find it https whack docs.olares.com. This is the manual that the Olares team has put online for you to reference. So this is the most important thing that I want to bring you today. Now, this is going to be a bit dry. It's an overview, but it's relevant to the Olares One project as a whole because this kind of acts as a scaffold for the approaches that you might choose to use if you're not going to go the route of the Olares One. And of course, I'm not going to bore you with all of this stuff, but what I will say is the fact that this is a personal cloud operating system. So what does that mean to you? What it means to you is the fact that you could actually set this up on your own hardware. And these are the key use cases that are worth highlighting. Home lab server. Yep. If you got one of those, you could potentially be running the Olares OS. Certainly good for local models. You could have a personal data repository. It's a self-hosted workplace, private media player, smart home automation, and a decentralized social media. Well, that would be novel, wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it, Tim? A DSO social media space. So I don't want to get into all of that, but what I do really want to do is I want to kind of go through some of this here, which is, the fact that you've got options. So, you've got an ISO image that you could download. You can install it via inline script. You can even run a containerized Docker image environment on Linux. Ooh, this is giving me another idea. I've actually got a Linux notebook sitting right here. So I'm going to give props out. Yes, System 76. Yes, my Linux notebook. So there may be an Olares project episode or two where I demo Olares as an operating system running a container on my System 76 notebook. That would definitely be a wild experiment. Not saying I'm going to do it, but given that the option is there, I might just go that route. Right for this moment, I'm going to be focused on your options, but more important, looking at what this could do for you. This certainly, in my opinion, would be like the aspirational best. If you're not familiar with the DGX Spark, is really NVIDIA's effort to bring their AI factory, as it is, built out, that runs, any one of these AI factories that's running in a commercial data center space to the desktop level. I won't bore you with all the details. In fact, you know what? I will bore you with the details. So give me a moment. I'm going to pull up NVIDIA's website just to get you a little bit of tech jealousy because it's worth mentioning at this point. All right, I'm back. And of course, NVIDIA's advertising stuff, banner advertisements. So this is it. This is the DGX Spark. And I like this, the power of the NVIDIA Grace Blackwell chip on your desktop. What's killer about this is the fact that you've got up to 1 petaflop of FP4 AI performance. So I'm not going to nerd out on all these details, but here's the kicker. Okay. This 128 gigabytes worth of unified memory, that is epic. That is really epic. And the Spark's actually running its own operating system. It's a Linux fork as well. You can see they've got a fairly decent website that you can visit yourself. So just go to nvidia.com or search DGX Spark, NVIDIA DGX Spark, and you can see all the details for yourself. So this is not me making you jealous. It's just making you aware of other additional hardware that certainly could be used as an alternative for running, the Olares operating system. And by the way, the DGX Spark is what we would consider a flagship device. But here's the other thing. You don't have to go with the NVIDIA device if you're going to go this route. Acer, Asus, Dell, Lenovo, HP, Gigabit, MSI, they all have their variants. I mean, I kind of like the Lenovo one myself, but that's just me. And oh, wow, cool. I got an offer. That's nice. Let's not do this right now. Not right now, please. Yeah, there we go. So this is Lenovo's. By the way, they're not cheap. None of this is cheap. Hardware in general is not cheap. And I'm recording at the point where, of course, we've got this whole RAM crisis thing going on. Suffice it to say, you've got choices, you've got options. So let's get back into this whole conversation that I was having with you, specifically around this. So your routes to installation, you could potentially do it, run it in Mac OS as a Docker image. Oh, I've got a Mac Studio. That might be another interesting Olares project experiment as well. I could probably run it here on my production system. I've got a really nice production system that I do all of these videos on. I don't know if I necessarily want to do an Olares project experiment by installing it on this machine. But I do have a couple of laptops, old work laptops, that might work as a good test bed for this. Again, more Olares project experiments that I can run to show you how this might work in different environments. So, and this is, by the way, this is the kicker right here. An ARM-based Raspberry Pi. I think I've got a few colleagues at work who might want to test this one out themselves. For this episode, though, this was the look behind the scenes, behind the curtains, to show you what your options are. If you like the look and feel of the Olares operating system as it's set up currently on my Olares One, you too could be running the Olares operating system in some form or fashion. So this is a choice that you get to make. I am educating you at this point, because you probably didn't know that this was available until you watched this video. So again, this is a little bit of a side excursion to inform you where you might start to be able to run your own experiments using Olares as your foundation. I'm not saying do it. In fact, what I am encouraging you is, if you do go this route and you find that this is useful, let me know. Because, of course, that gives me other things to consider in my home lab as things that I could do as part of this overall video series with the hardware that I've got. I want this to be a kind of a democratized experience for everyone watching these clips, because, again, I'm just a technologist. I'm a guy who's been working in this space a long time. I'm not a software developer. But this barrier to entry has gotten so low that many of us can get this stuff up and running in a relatively short amount of time. And it's due in no small part to the people who are backing this up in the open source community. So this episode is going to be shorter than the prior episode. So this is episode number 4, which is really the walkthrough of the Olares docs and your options for running the Olares operating system on your own hardware. So again, you are getting deep into the Olares project, brought to you by Tim Unscripted. I hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe if you did, because that will help me know to keep the video series going. And if you didn't, drop something in the comments to let me know how I might be able to improve and do things better. So thank you for watching. See you soon.